Please let the record reflect Mrs. Pillion and Mr. Owens is absent from the meeting.
All right, that brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Pillion had to be out of town today, so I would like to ask Mike Cochran to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, swell. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. And that brings us to the approval of the agenda. Council, for time's sake today, we have another event going on, so I would like with your all's approval, to move item K2 up to follow the public comments section to get these guys in and out of here today. And I would entertain a motion to do so.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Vice Mayor Quetch to move item K2 pertaining to Doug Superwash up underneath public comments. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson? Ms. Quetch? Aye. And Mayor Webb?
Aye. That brings us to public comments, and I think there was a couple of people signed up, but it was pertaining to the item K2. So if it's all right, gentlemen, we'll just let y'all come up during your time slot. Which brings us to item K2, Doug Superwash, for section 18-7-10, appeal to the town council regarding a decision made by the Planning Commission on June the 27th, 2022, to not allow the exterior painting of Doug Superwash to be Benjamin Moore Red 2000-10, as it does not comply with the entrance corridor standards outlined in section 18-9-11D, design review guidelines. 8, facade colors. Mayanna Rice.
Thank you. So I'm just going to go through, for the record, talk a little bit about how we got here, and then when you're ready, you can discuss it with the applicants. Turnhard Acquisition Corporation requested the approval of a certificate of appropriateness, and that was for a commercial car wash. That happened in February of this year, so February 2022. The renderings that they proposed included a mixture of brick, glass, and a painted red trim. So that's what you have up here on the screen. That set of drawings was actually turned into us, I think, in like late 2021, actually. And so that was held and reviewed in February. The applicants then asked if they could come back to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission heard a new request on May 2022. So that new request said two things. They wanted to change the exterior from the brick that they presented to a cement board that would mimic the brick but wouldn't be true actual brick. They also wanted to change it to a red color, and that means the whole facade would be painted red. It wouldn't just be the red trim. And so at that time, the Planning Commission listened to that. They indicated that they were not in favor of having like a panel or some sort of a cement board. They said, we want real brick as part of the design standards. This is part of the entrance corridor. So the applicant said, okay, we'd like to return to you, well, we're willing to do the real brick. And so they said, what about the red color? Planning Commission said, well, we don't like this red, this bright red that you've proposed. Can you go back, and is there something else? So the applicants said, don't make a motion on the color. We're gonna come back with a different, more muted color. So the applicants then returned in June 2022 with a new red color. That's the one that was in the last proposal. The Planning Commission at that time indicated that they didn't agree with the red. They did not think that it met the design entrance corridor guidelines D8, which says facade colors preferably shall be of low reflectance, white, earth tone, muted, subtle, or neutral colors. Building trims may feature brighter colors as an accent material. The use of high intensity metallic, fluorescent, day glow, or other neon colors are discouraged. So the planning commission at that meeting said, we're gonna stand by our original COA, the one that you presented to us that we approved. We're not changing it from brick to a different type of facade, and we're not approving the new red color that you've proposed. So at that point, we talked with the applicants and indicated that their next step, if they wanted to, was to appeal the planning commission's decision to the town council. So that's how we've ended up here today. February, this was approved. May, they came back and asked for 2 items to be changed. And then in June, they tried to ask for another red color. So planning commission said no in those 2 cases. The one thing that I wanted to just kind of put on the record is there's 2 areas within the Abingdon town limits that require COAs. That's the Old and Historic District, and that's the entrance corridor. And in those 2 areas, the Old and Historic District, the HPRB, our Historic Review Board, looks at those things. In the entrance corridor, our Planning Commission looks at it. So that's how it ended up in front of the Planning Commission the last 3 times. How is this in the entrance corridor? Cummings is a street that is part of the entrance corridor, and when this original PUD, the Meadows, was approved, that entire project was part of the entrance corridor. So even though only a small portion comes down and you have a large sign there, this entire development is still inside the entrance corridor. And with that, an agreement was made between the owners and the town of the Meadows that said, certificate of appropriateness. Before physical development of each tract, the owner of said tract shall apply for and receive the certificate of appropriateness from the Town of Abingdon Planning Commission and/or the Town of Abingdon Town Council. And because of that agreement, approval of a COA is required to go in front of the Planning Commission or you all for a final site design and a facade. So today, your basic decision could be, yes, you could say we approve and want to go through an approval process to amend the original COA to the color that they're choosing. Or you could deny that COA amendment and say, no, we're going to stick with the decision that was made by the Planning Commission. Yesterday, after we got new drawings that were presented, and I can pull those up, or maybe Cam can. They're on a tab, they're like the 4th tab over.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
Maybe our IT
Diana,
person can.
I see different tabs up there. Is that like
Yeah.
the different phasing, like of
Let's
requests
just
or
take,
designs
update.
or?
Probably the next one over, Cam, sorry, it says updated. So this is what we got yesterday.
See how many skills I have?
You have a lot of them, yeah.
Gonna lawyer to this, right?
I know if I took it over here, I wouldn't even be able to use the mouse over here, so. So this is what was submitted yesterday. It shows the red, the proposed red that they would like to use rather than the brick facade. The only thing I will say is now we have a gray topper along the top edge instead of red, so if they truly are asking for this to be approved, 1/3 option you all could do is send it back to the Planning Commission to review these new drawings because we haven't seen those. But right now, the applicants have approved the first ones from February, this set of drawings. That's what's approved, and they are allowed to build that. So if you go out on the site, you'll see that they've started construction. We worked with the building department and said, yes, let's get them started because all of the, the exterior frame and the steel and all that was already allowed to be red. Could you scroll down one picture or two? I just want to show kind of like where the glass is. Yeah, so you can kind of see there.
So this is all the original?
This is what's approved right now.
Okay.
Correct. Yep, so at this point, they have the ability to build this structure.
Okay, as is?
Correct.
No questions asked, okay.
Correct.
All right. Just
That,
making sure.
that
I
already got approved.
Okay.
And so we're just sitting here with 2 basic denials of changes to that from the planning
And
commission.
some of those colors are burgundy and red, right?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah. So if you have any questions for me, I can try to help, but you have, you know, the representative and their counsel here, so if you wish to speak to them.
So Donna, I know you're probably more familiar with all of this since you serve on planning commission than Dwayne and I are. But I guess just to sort of let me know where you're headed, what exactly is it that you're asking us to approve? I mean,
We're asking, we wanted to paint that brick red.
Mr. Jones, if you don't mind, for the record, just tell the clerk who you are and
I'm
who you
sorry,
represent.
Jim.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dennis Jones. I'm an attorney in practice law. Been around
well,
a few days.
that's it. That's it.
Most of y'all do not know Judge Person, who was a judge over in the 29th Judicial Circuit. We were having a conversation with some colleagues of mine, and they were talking about a lot. And I went and started practicing law with Judge Person, and he was my first judge. And I said, I started practicing law, and Judge Person wasn't a judge. He was a Commonwealth attorney. So if you know how long ago that was, it gives you some idea. Here's the plan. This is the paint. There's going to be a brick facade, and this is the color. This happens to be the same color as the metal.
Okay.
And, you know, I didn't have the updated ones. Probably should have. I didn't ask for them. But there's a little bit of some additional things I think that you need to consider, or I think is important. This is primarily this building. The exterior is glass, and so what I did, I had our engineering service prepare the calculations on the size of this building. And let's see, we're looking at the entrance here, and that's on the Holiday Inn side. So the total square footage of the entrance of materials, glass and brick, is 1,026 square feet. Of that entrance at the front, what you see here, up through here and down, is only 400 square feet of what you see. We aren't talking about a structure like Powell's, that from the four corners of Powell's is painted blue. We're talking about portions of this structure that is going to be brick, and it's going to be, we're asking to be able to paint red. And it makes, you can see it a little bit better. You see in this area here, the gray that's going to be between the red panels, and that's even going to decrease the red that's visible even more so. Now, this part of the building, this is the back of the building, which you can see from I-81 if you could see it. And let's see, yeah, this is the front of the building here that you would see from Food City, or that is primarily visible. And so you have this structure here is going, that's the portion of the brick that you can see if you're at Food City looking at it. My point is this, and that would be a total of 754 square feet, that if you're looking straight at this building, that's the amount of red that you see. And again, I'm not comparing apples to oranges, to go ahead and do it. If you're looking at Powell's, that same square footage that you see from Food City looking is less than what you see from Powell, as far as square footage is concerned. So this building is modern in its construction and in its design. Dutch Car Wash has an identical facility to this in Kingsport. It's on East Stone Drive. The building itself is 35, or I'll call it the tube for lack of a better phrase. It's 35 foot wide and it's 150 foot long. And so what you do is, it's similar to what Doug's Car Wash is now, except this is more modern, it's upgraded, it's no hands-on, there are powerful jets. I took my vehicle through the one in Kingsport, and I mean, the jets in there are unreal, it just blows you away. But you get on a conveyor and everything, it is on a conveyor belt, it goes through. But what Doug's vision is of course the opening of other facilities of this nature, but this is his trademark. And I noticed in the packet that when I printed out the packet, when we filed the appeal, I had photographs attached that showed the facility there in Kingsport, so you get some idea of what the finished product looks like. When I printed it out, unfortunately, I didn't get the same quality from my printer as I had originally done. So I don't know if those examples are as clear as I would like for them to be, but it's certainly something that I want you folks to see. But this is the business model for Doug's Car Wash, and to continue building these facilities. This thing, you have the brains of this structure and mechanism, I think they're down here. And to go into that facility and to look at the electronics that is used to make this operate, it's very impressive. And then you've got chemical components, they're all housed, they're located in the other part of the structure, so that everything is extraordinarily efficient. And with that, and with all the technology that's gone into this, there is an enormous investment that's being made. And Doug Ratner and Doug's Car Wash has been a long time citizen of Abingdon, been in business, been a good corporate citizen, been no complaints with them that I'm aware of, all the years that they've operated. And given the fact that, we have other structures and that have been granted variances, if that's the right word, or allowed to paint their brick with a color other than an earth tone. And one of the things that I would point out in the ordinance is the word preferable. And the thing about the word preferable and allowing a governmental entity is not objective. And we should be able to, I think, make a presentation where there's some objectivity in that decision rather than it being subjective and say, well, we would prefer something. Because it doesn't prevent painting. It does not prevent mortar being painted or brick being painted. And Powell's is a good example of that. As a matter of fact, even if you look at the Holiday Inn, they use what appears to me to be mortarboard, I'm not sure, or concrete. But there are 3 different colors there. Now, it's a good color coordination. I'm not complaining about the color, but the fact is you've got a gray and you've got a lighter red. It's not certainly not as bright as this, but you do have 3 distinct colors there at the Holiday Inn. If you look at the other features of the other buildings in inside the Meadows, again, getting back to Powell's, their soft drink cup is pretty much as color rated. And that soft drink cup is as large in square footage as what you will see on this building from Cumming Street. And it's not a small cup, it's a big cup. And it stands out. That's a signature of Powell. So we would just ask that you give this some consideration and you allow us to paint the brick here. Here it is. This is the color. I know it's not before the board now, but if we go back to see some, back up a little bit here. There's a structural issue here, and they will address that at the next board meeting. Brick won't. It's going to be a challenge structurally to take the brick above these windows for different reasons. So that's a reason there's a little bit difference there. But that's something that they'll have to address at a future meeting. So but I just wanted to explain to you that there is a difference. The brick does stop at that point.
So, you know, hearing all these things certainly brings back memories of the whole Powell's debacle. You know, Doug, I want to say up front, I think you do a great job with your car washes. They're lovely, well-maintained, the best. And they're very, very modern and desirable. We want you to be in Abingdon. Procedurally, though, I don't know that we can approve a new plan without it going to planning commission first. Is that accurate?
Oh, I wasn't asking for the approval of this. They have rejected our ability to paint this red. That's what we're here for today, is to get permission to paint this red.
Okay.
That's what we're asking, that's what we're seeking. We aren't seeking to change this. I just offered that as an explanation.
Okay.
Because if you're looking at this, you see brick going up here, and you see that coming around. I just wanted to tell you why that was different. Obviously, they have to go back to get this done. This is not before the town council today.
Right.
So if you go back and you see, here's the original, and you see the brick going all the way up. That needs to be changed. They'll address that at a future date.
Okay.
And just so we're clear, Mr. Jones, so, Mayana, this is what had been approved originally.
Correct.
What we've been looking through is what was submitted yesterday. So are you, and then what planning commission actually decided isn't in any of these pictures, it's in the packet?
It's that first set of you. Yeah, planning commission approved that.
Right.
Yes.
But what was denied is not, we're not looking at it on the screen, it's on this.
The color? Correct. The color is not on the screen. The color that got denied was just a name of a color.
Okay.
And it's this color red right here.
Okay.
So the red was discussed and described when it was denied.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's called Benjamin Moore Red 2000-10.
Okay.
So, yes.
And just so, and the materials were also denied, not brick, the other material. So Dennis, I mean, probably more of a practicality, if they have to go back to planning commission for a structural change, and maybe you've got different ideas about what the outside's gonna look at, instead of different from what you appealed technically, wouldn't it make more sense just to go back to planning commission and submit that all at once and then appeal it?
And I will say this, you know, Powell's has been brought up, and I was on council when Powell's was approved and all that. But the key difference there, though, is planning commission also approved Powell's being that color. And I will say I have just a tad bit of hesitation with planning commission unanimously denying the color, with us taking action on it before they have a chance to reconsider the whole package, if that makes sense.
Well, here's my problem with that. We have a specific request on the color that has been rejected. And not only pursuant to your ordinance, and that color is rejected, so if we go back with that color again in a different plan, it's already been rejected. So I don't see how the planning commission will say, well, that's okay, you can't have that color. So our appellate options are then to come here regarding this single issue on the color. And if you allow us to do it, then we can do it. And then the citizens have a right to appeal. But if you do not allow us to do it on that issue, then we have a further right of appeal to the circuit court by filing a writ of certiorari. While it would probably, it sounds and appears to be more prudent because we're done, this updated version is going to have to be done because of that structural piece. I don't think, or I'm concerned that if we take the color back, I don't think that it's rightfully before the planning commission because they've already rejected it. That's my concern. And then if I went through the appellate process, I'm sure Mr. Bell might call that to the attention of the circuit court and say, well, he didn't exhaust his remedies on the appellate thing. That would be what I would do. So I just don't see how we can go back.
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify, since we got that yesterday, what it was specifically that you're asking for. So
It's just the color.
I think the point then, council, would be as to the, well, I guess, let me ask you this. Are you conceding the stucco facade and just you want to do brick?
Oh,
Are we considering that or not?
Right now, we're going with this plan, what we have approved, with the exception we want to paint it red. That's the only thing. Now, any other modification after that obviously would have to go through the administrative process.
Gotcha. Okay.
And this updated version would have to go through that administrative process.
So then your argument and what your appeal is based on is D8, the facade colors preferably shall be of low reflectance white, et cetera. That's what you're appealing. Okay. And so the difference of that, just to point out some of the differences that have been done on the other buildings, for instance, it does say specifically, and what was approved by the Planning Commission was a version of that red as an accent color. I think that would be allowed, and the Planning Commission has allowed that as an accent color. The difference would be of the primary facade color not being a muted color is what the Planning Commission didn't approve. And it does say, in terms of the percentages and that sort of thing, the entrance corridor guidelines say excluding glass shall be a percentage, so that you don't really consider the glass, you just consider the facade itself and what the color is. So the gist is, and again, to refresh people who were here's recollection, and Mr. Anderson, who wasn't here, but may have been at the barter with the 300 people there who were interested in that particular issue, is that Powell's argument primarily was that was their brand, that was their trademark. That color was incorporated because it was a piece of art, and that's why all those things, it was designed by some famous artist, according to Powell's. So that was in the calculus, not just the color.
Can
But I think
I
we're all on the
ask,
same page now.
can I ask why that wasn't presented at the first meeting, this color? If it was your signature color?
I wasn't there.
It was. We specifically brought up the trademark of Doug's.
You mean back when this was approved, or?
No.
I mean, it,
We were asking.
at the
Oh, okay,
beginning,
okay.
yeah, I mean, I just feel like if it had been a signature color, then at the first meeting, I would think that you would bring this red, if it's your signature color.
You're talking about
I'm
at the
talking
very
about the ones,
first
yeah, the
meeting.
one they
Okay, I
approved,
got you. I
yeah,
understand what you're
was
saying.
not the,
Doug, do you have any comments you'd like to make? I mean, I have to say, this is a very difficult decision to put on the three of us. It's, unfortunately, we're,
And we aren't trying to be
No.
different.
no, I understand. Like I said before, Doug, I want you to be there. I think you're gonna do a fantastic job, but color always is a volatile thing.
I know, I guess that's our trademark. And to differ from other car washes, that's our color that people associate with us. And it's just like Powell's, to give you an example, they built one in Johnson City, and they weren't allowed to use their colors. And it was a dismal, it's awful, I guess you're aware of it. So they said they would
Yeah.
never build another one without that color. And that's the same with us. If we don't have our colors, it's gonna hurt our business as far as recognition.
Well, it just seems like since the beginning, though, with each visit, we see more red. Is that not true? It seems like it's,
Yeah, as I mentioned before, my biggest dilemma is that the planning commission unanimously voted against it. And, from our seats, I think we maybe would all agree on this. We appoint those people for a very specific reason, because they've got an eye for and the intelligence to be able to discern through that information. So it's very difficult for me to vote yes on something if they unanimously voted against it, as much as I want to help you out. And that's what I was kind of getting at. I wish in a perfect world you guys could take your entire new design back to them and perhaps stand a chance at getting their approval. It would just make things so much more palatable. Does that make sense to you, Donna?
it does, but they also have guidelines and standards that they follow. And I feel like that when we, all of a sudden we say we're going against our standards, then we open the door. So I have a lot of respect for the people that serve. I'm new to the planning commission, but I have a lot of respect for those guys that serve and they do their homework.
I'm sorry, could I say something?
You sure can.
I guess from our perspective, we bought the land, we're putting over $8 million in the facility at least. And we bought it under the assumption, I know where you're coming from, Donna,
Yeah.
that the color, we saw that PALS was allowed to do it. So we had no idea that we would not be able to use our trademark. If you let one business use it, and it's just as important to our business to be red as it is for them to be what loud color that is. You can see from our point, we didn't anticipate any problem with our red if they were allowed to do it. So I guess that's what you thought is the reason, hey, it was understood we can go with our color. And I think if you turn us down, and I mean no disrespect or anything, you're picking and choosing businesses. And if you treat one business one way, and we have the assumption we will have the same rights as they do, you see where I'm coming from, Don? I know where you're coming from, but would you anticipate if you looked at PALS that you would have a problem with a red car wash if they're, that glows at night, That's our perception.
It's a tough one. It really is. It's a tough one.
I just can't go against the planning commission's decision. I'm sorry. In fact, my personal opinion, I think the original looks better.
Wayne, got anything you want to add? Or?
I'm kind of like Don, that's what we have the planning commission for. So if it's going to be ran through anybody, it needs to be updated and ran back through the planning commission before it comes to us.
Well, at risk of keeping you guys here for much longer, if you want us to vote on it, we'll vote on it. I still personally would love to see you guys take your new design back to planning commission and try to vet it through them. Just think it would be a better scenario for everybody. But again, if you'd like for us to vote on it, we'll vote on it and give you that, answer. Is that fair, counsel? Is that?
Well, procedurally, I don't, unless you can fashion a way to send it back to the planning commission. Again, plan's got to be updated, and that part of it that involves the structural part has got to go back through, obviously. Because it's changing it, and hopefully, they will see the necessity of that change and approve that change, and they may not do that. If they don't approve that, then we've got a structural problem that's going to have a major impact on construction of that building. You're going to have to do something because of significant investments already been made. But in reading your ordinance, I find it challenging to see how the color issue can go back to them since they've already denied it. I mean, I don't see a vehicle in the zoning ordinance that, okay, you told me no this month, so next month I'm gonna come back.
Sure.
And ask for it again.
I respect that, I understand.
I mean, there's closure, and I'm just, if there was a way, or a vehicle in the zoning ordinance that I could read into it, that allows for a remand, and for, we call it in court, I'd be glad to do that. And I think it would be helpful in order to do that, because at the time the planning commission, this was presented, we did not provide them what's going to be visible, what you're going to see by way of square footage. So, you start off and you're thinking, in your mind, I've got 150 foot of bright fire engine red I'm going to have to look at, and may not want to do that. I get that, I understand it. But we aren't talking about that. We're talking about almost accent pieces. I mean, there's no place that you can look at this building that you see more than 40% brick on the inside. And that's the maximum, and it gets less. But it's not as though we've got something that is big and bold. True, the color is bold. That's not big.
But I do want to add one more thing, is there has been a COA that was approved by
Right.
the planning commission. And so it's, that's what I want to, I want to say that, you have one that's already approved that the planning commission really likes. And so I really can't go against.
I think, and what I'm hearing or sensing is that if you guys had originally gone to planning commission with a red building, that perhaps they would have approved it up front and this would never be an issue. That's kind of what I'm hearing. But, and that's sort of what happened with PALS, is they said, we're just not going to come to town unless you approve our color up front, so they approved it up front. There was no back and forth. So yeah, I just wish there was a different vehicle, as you said, for this whole.
Unlike pals, we're not trying to blackmail you.
No, and I respect that and understand that.
We're trying to work with you.
I'm sure.
That's what we're
I
trying
understand,
to do.
I understand.
We're trying to find that happy medium ground.
That's it. Mike, did you have something you want to share?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just was wondering, these, from talking with Mayana, these are pre-designed, it's like a kit essentially, is that correct?
Yes.
So with the structural, if it's brick facade, how is there, I don't understand, I'm not an engineer, but how is it that you need to go to something other than brick if it's?
Jeremy Fields, Appalachian Design Services. I did not design the building, so I'm only speaking on behalf of what I understand.
Sure.
This rendering here was the original rendering that the building manufacturer had supplied. And every time that they have a brick clause that requires brick, they use that thin brick that we submitted. So they didn't have the town of Abingdon that says it has to be an actual clay brick.
Okay.
Typically, it's just a brick look. So they use that thin panel that is, so everybody can see, probably this thick. So you take, to go from that to that thick, that's the structural issue, and then the weight of this compared to that
Sure.
fiber cement board.
That makes
So,
sense.
Plus
just-
a lot of cost savings too, I'm sure, right?
That's probably beside the point.
Okay.
I don't know, but the issue is the structural ability to carry this weight
Okay.
and this thickness.
Okay.
Because they designed it they design them all. You know, like you say, it's kit, it's purchased, and so their siding is thin.
Right.
You know, whether it be
Yes.
a metal panel like Kingsport,
Sure.
or when they have to change to go to a brick, and I use air quotes because it is a panel, it's a fiber cement, it just looks like brick. So it's much thinner, it's much less weight and things of that nature. So that's the issue that comes up with the windows. When we had to go to a real brick, that's when it came to light that we have a problem above the windows.
Gotcha.
And, you know, you go anywhere, you look at this building, you got, you know, steel angles or, you know, things of that nature that carry the brick. Well, in the panel situation, you don't have that. And so that's the issue we have with the brick, above the windows.
That's fair, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that's not before council.
Right, that's not, we're only talking about color today. Yes.
Just a few, and thank you for clarifying all that, Mr. Jones. Just a few points. One, it is an entrance corridor for the reason Ms. Rice said, but it's not just an agreement. These are restrictive covenants on the property, on all the properties. It applies to everything that's in that area. So it's on the record, filed in the courthouse, known to everyone who purchases a parcel in this development, that those restrictive covenants apply to the entrance corridor. And everybody has said various things, but I want to make clear on the record, and I'm sure that you will agree with me. Your personal preference, or what you think, or what you like, or what looks good, has nothing to do with it. What you all mean is, under D8 of the entrance corridor facade colors, it's a question of whether preferably will be low reflectance, white, earth tone, muted, subtle, or neutral colors, or whether you allow an exception to that. And what Planning Commission voted on was that it didn't fit that criteria, and so they denied this red. So that would be the question to you under that.
All right.
So we'd have to make an exception to the guidelines if we said yes.
And the specific exception that exists, that I think is what Planning Commission based it on, the second sentence of 8 is, building trim may feature brighter colors as an accent material. And similarly to maybe some of the things that they'll get into with the exceptions to the brick, there are provisions for different materials in the building itself where it doesn't have to be 100% brick. Maybe there could be mostly brick on that facade and some difference in the top. But the idea is that everything looks the same. So that's why it was developed that way. And you know, a lot of the things in town, old historic and things in the entrance corridor that we're moving towards, you know, the McDonald's, it looks different than the Taco Bell looked when it was built in 1987 of purple and pink and whatever, that we're slowly moving as things get updated to a somewhat homogeneous look. So that's the idea behind all of it, and it doesn't matter what you think is
Right.
looks good on your house or otherwise. It's what the guidelines say.
Okay. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, if we don't have any more questions for Doug, we can either approve or deny the red color that's been presented before us today. I would entertain a motion for approval or denial. Anybody?
I'm gonna say we need to go with the planning commission. You know, so
So you're making a motion to deny the...
to deny the color today,
All right.
making a motion to deny, just because I would like for the planning commission to take a look at it first. You know, everything revised, everything updated. I'd like for everything to pretty much go through the planning commission before it goes through us.
So I've got a motion on the table to deny the...
If I could suggest two, so I think when you're saying two things. One, what's appealed, as Mr. Jones has clarified, is just the red color. So what would be before you now is approving or denying the red color. So your motion is to deny the red color.
Red color.
But you're also suggesting to them that this new thing that we've just seen today, that they present that to the planning commission and let them think about it.
Yes.
But whether that would be futile, as Mr. Jones has pointed out, he may have hit the nail on the head with that one, but I think that would be acceptable procedurally. just as they've moved to amend the COA.
Okay. So we've got a motion by Mr. Anderson to deny the color today, with the caveat that he would like for you all to take your new plans back to the planning commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, if you can, you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson. Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. And gentlemen, I would like to say that we're very excited for what you're going to build. I know it's going to be top notch. And I do think there has to be a way for you all to work with planning commission to perhaps get part of that red color and maybe not all of it. I want you to get your trademark if you can. I'm sure there's a creative way you guys can come up with a solution. So I really do look forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Well, I would suggest to any of you, if you're down on East Stone Drive, go in a car wash down there and do that. It really is impressive.
And Doug, I have seen that car wash, and I have to say, man, top notch, really. You do a great job. You really do. Thank you.
Come down, I'll give you a free one.
I don't know if I can accept it. $20 more. Thank you. We look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, council. That brings us to public hearings, of which today we have none. Resolutions, today we have none. We don't have any first or second readings of ordinances or considerations of new bids that I'm aware of. We're back to K again, and under K1, we have Abingdon Farmers Market update. David McLeish, welcome to the hot seat.
So I just wanted to give you a update on how the farmers market's doing and some exciting things that have happened recently. So I'm sure most of you know about the Tuesday Kids program we've been running. That Andrea won from Virginia Cooperative Extension. They call it the Family Nutrition Program. We expected 25 kids each day. The first Tuesday we had 79. At 2:45 before the market opened, I had 40 kids under the roof.
Wow.
So we scrambled, we came up with some quick funding. The original funding for that program was $1,500 the last 6 weeks. We blew through that in 2 weeks. So I did put out a post looking for donations. The community responded overwhelmingly with $2,145 in donations I got from various people and businesses. So that kept us running for the full 6 weeks. We ended up with 388 kids total over the 6 weeks, so $3,880 was given out to kids. And to see kids buying fresh onions, mushrooms, broccoli was just astounding. And the kids were actually picking them. The parents were like, "It's your money," and they were picking what they wanted. The other thing we've been doing is with the EBT funds. We're part of a grant through Fresh Match, and we match. If they run their EBT card for $25, we match $25. So anything up to $25, we match. Up to July 30th, we've given out $6,030 in match funds. When I put in the paperwork for that grant, I put in for $10,000. I expect we'll use it all.
That's awesome.
And we still have between 1,300 and 1,500 customers coming through on a Saturday. I know you've been there, you've been there. Brooke could tell you, Brooke's one of our vendors and part of my steering committee. In that Tuesday program, last year, won outstanding team for their program that they run, and they cover multiple markets. So it's just a good program, and I wanted to give you guys an update.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're proud of what you're doing.
Thanks.
All right, in the moment we've all been waiting for, K3, appointment of Laura Dowell to replace Katie Garrett as Freedom of Information Officer. Mike Cochran. Let me get my sword. I'm gonna knife it.
Yeah, so I wanted to introduce you to you in the event that you didn't recognize her or know her face. But she works with Myanna, and she's there at the computer all day, every day. But she is, with some changes with some duties, I was gonna have her take over for that Freedom of Information, that gets filed, and then she'll work through, with Cam with some stuff, but.
So you're no longer gonna be here at the window?
No, I've got an office
Oh, okay.
back in the hallway.
Moving on up.
She's got
I
to
like
use
it.
old place.
I like it, huh?
Yeah, but she's thorough, detailed, and
Congratulations.
I think she's the right person for it.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. We're very excited.
Thank
I'm not
you.
sure you'll be so excited when you start retrieving all those documents, but we're very glad to have you on board, and I'm sure you're gonna do a great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I didn't bring my sword, so you're clear.
All right. Next time.
That's it. Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
All right, today, I don't think we have any old business. We do have some shocking, but very valuable information from the miscellaneous business and communications from the town manager. We've got a report from town arborist regarding the ash tree at Abingdon Visitor Center.
Kevin Sigmund?
Shocking.
It is a bit shocking.
It is, it's sad, it really
It
is.
is.
Because, Cam, I don't think, you have a copy of the report, I want to make sure you have one. Yes, back earlier in the summer, during one of these frequent storms that we've been having, the ash tree over here in front of the Fields Pen lost a large branch in it, and it exposed some decay up there in the main trunk of the tree that caught my eye. And in my limited capabilities as a tree risk assessor, because, part-time for the town, I really got a, insurance liability, limitations. I have to be very careful about what I can and can't do. And also just due to the nature of this tree, being it's such a large tree, such a prominent tree, in such a prominent location. I mean, it's probably, I would dare say, that is probably the busiest intersection we have here in town. And so realize we probably need to bring in an outside agency to be able to do a more thorough evaluation of this. And there was really only one company that I could think of that I believe that would really do a good job of this, and this was Bartlett Tree Experts. They even brought in people from Nashville, Tennessee to do the evaluation. It's what was called a level 3 tree risk assessment. I am qualified as a tree risk assessor, but I just felt that this was definitely the smart move to make, to get an outside source to come in and do an unbiased assessment of the tree. They came in about a month ago and did the work. I was out there with them when they were up in the tree, taking a good look around, and then they prepared this report here and sent it to me. And so I just want to just make you aware of several things here. The problem is with the tree is it's about 30-35 feet up in the air. And there is an old wound up there, that is just, and the problem is that with ash, you would think ash trees would be like oak in terms of their resistance to decay, but that is just not the case. When an ash tree starts to decay, it goes quickly, and so this decay has gone down into this area, and so it is of a major concern there with that. And so that's what they really looked hard at. The base of the tree is fine. If you will look on page 11 of the report that I gave you, pages 11 and 12, you will see resistograph readings down there around the base of the tree. And I have a resistograph. I got one 20 years ago as a grant from the Virginia Department of Forestry, but mine is like a Yugo in relation to their Lexus. Okay, mine's ancient and very, very rudimentary in comparison to what they had out there. And so, as you can see here, basically what those little up and downs. Those are tree rings in the tree. And it goes in about it went in about 18 inches, which is about as far as mine goes, but still very, very good. The base of the tree is solid. in other words. There was only one little spot that they noted there on page 12. You can see there a reduction there. And basically what it means, what this is, what it says here is that as it goes up, it's more solid. What is it? This resistor graph is just a little screw that goes in, and as they're drilling it in, it measures the resistance against the tip of it. And of course, solid wood offers more resistance than rotting wood or an opening. And so, as you can see right there, there was just one little crack there on one side of the tree, and this is about 4.5 feet off the ground. That's not a problem. That especially for a tree that size and a tree that age, is not a concern. The problem is it's 35 feet up in the air. And I will just refer to you there on page 3, right there near the beginning of the document, down at the bottom. And it is the very last, the bottom paragraph right there on page 3. It says removal is strongly recommended for this tree. They looked at the possibility of what they call retrenchment, which is in essence just trying to remove the decaying part of the tree out. But that is, like I said, the main part of the tree. Bringing that down to that level where we remove that is going to remove a significant portion of that tree. Not only is it going to look horrible, we're creating a massive wound up there which will not be able to compartmentalize, which is the tree's natural defensive mechanism, and we are just creating issues for ourselves down the road. We're not doing the tree any good if we try to do that. We're not helping it out. And so, really, the thing to do is just go ahead and to have this tree taken down, because as you can see there, and I think y'all were looking at this there on page 6. What is remaining up there in the area that is likely to fail, most likely to fail. And I'm not saying it's going to be immediate. Of course, we could have a weather event that could come in at any time, but still, this is not something we feel like we have to take care of tomorrow. But the tree, where it is coming out towards the road, is basically what it boils down to. It's not coming out towards the house, it's coming out there basically to the northwest corner of the property, coming out towards the sidewalk, coming out towards the street. And we just can't have that. It's just too great a risk. And any other type of remedial things that we could do, we're not fixing the problem. And so, we can't get rid of this decay. It's just moving through the tree like a gangrene. And so, the tree commission met this past Monday night and voted to go ahead and have the tree removed. Of course, one of the things that we are going to do is this fall we do want to come back and put another tree back in there in its place. A tree of some size, a tree of that, even when we come in, something with a 3-4 inch caliber size, something that's more than probably what you would find down in the standard retail stores. I'll go looking, but we were kind of batting around different species. It's either going to be an oak or a maple, probably what we're looking at. And so, my personal preference, I think oak, because I'm a big believer in the value of oak trees in terms of being a host species for all the urban wildlife that's out there. Oak is by far the best. If you'll read anything from Dr. Doug Ptolemy from the University of Delaware. So, but anyway, what it boils down to, through the process, we're going to have to publicize this. We're going to have to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. We want to make sure that nobody's taken by surprise with this. One of the things we have talked about is when to take this tree down. We're going to try to avoid the major tourist season. It doesn't look the best. But one of the other things we looked at is when is water, out of session. Things like that. When the tourists are down just a little bit. And we're looking at mid to late September, I think is about the time that we're talking about for that.
In your opinion, though, it's safe for
of course, present climatic conditions, yes, even they said it's not an absolute immediate thing. The tree is, it's going, is basically what it is. It's just heading in that direction. And of course, any kind of a super horrible wind event could come in, we could have a hurricane come in, and we just don't know. But I think it's fine to where we can wait till September, based upon everything that I know about the condition up there on that. And of course, the thing is that we need to, I guess we'll be putting things out on social media. We'll placard the tree, make things aware if we need to, if it's believed to be appropriate. We'll bring the news agencies up here. We'll bring WCYB up here, and we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about this document.
Yeah, I think it's imperative we share the realities of what this risk assessment.
The good news is that this tree is going out on its own terms. We spent a lot of money on that tree, trying to keep it going. We 3 times we have treated it for the Emerald Ash Borer. And as you will notice, that tree really, for the vast majority of it, looks wonderful. Especially in comparison to some of the other ash trees around town on private property. The tree looks great. It's just an old tree, and this is just a natural part of its life cycle. And so it is going out, but we will publicize it. We want to make, and of course, one of the things we talked about at the Tree Commission, of course, Amanda being on the commission, I wanted to make sure you guys were aware, we're going to get phone calls. We're going to get, this is not going to be a very popular decision, and it was not reached easily or favorably there with the Tree Commission. But they know. It's just this tree stuff. And so, especially if it was up there in an old, up there somewhere where it was out of the way, we could block it off and just say, hey, don't go up in there. This old girls could go. But being right here on Main Street, it's just, we can't do that. And so it's become it's a matter of public safety. And I think when you just say that, there's only really one option. And so that's where we're at there with that. So
I think anybody who knows you, if you're recommending that it come down, that would be the
Well,
absolute last choice.
well,
we would
it's,
make.
like with the sycamore tree down here, further on down Main Street, that one's, absolutely nothing wrong with that tree. And I don't think I've had a chance to tell you, appreciate the information you sent us earlier, about that tree, and dealing with those concerns at that time. So believe me, I appreciate it. So yes, I don't take down, such a large prominent tree or any tree without due consideration. And I think this is just where we're at right now. So if you do get any calls or anything, any complaints, send them my way.
We appreciate you.
Thank you
Send
so
them my
much.
way. Let them. I can talk to them. It may not sway them, but at least they're going to know where we are and know that this decision was not reached without, as I like to say, weeping whale and gnashing teeth.
Sid?
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, when would be the good time to plant a new one? So
This late this fall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if at all possible. Yeah.
Okay.
I've already been looking online. The alternate leaf dogwood tree that we planted up in Veterans Park, I had to go over to the James River to a nursery there and got that tree and brought it back. And I've already been online and looking at their trees. Of course, the thing is, I'd like the tree commission to agree before we reach that. Before I give them a call saying, hey, what have you got? But yeah, my personal opinion would be swamp white oak. It doesn't get to be quite as large as the regular white oak itself. A little more easily transplantable, especially when you come in a large variety, something that's a little more prominent right there at the beginning. I think this would be the route to take there for that. Have us a better chance. And of course, that tree's just going to sit there for a few years as it's trying to grow roots. And of course, a tree that size, that root ball weighs a lot. And so we're going to need to have some help getting that thing in there. And it's going to be quite the size hole that we're going to plan for that. So, but the thing is like I said, we put a lot of money on this ash tree to keep it going, keep it alive. We did root invigoration. we did everything could do because, we knew that was such a, and at one time, that was the third largest green ash on record in the state of Virginia. Now, it's been supplanted since then. Here's where we are with it. So, just wanted to make y'all aware, and if y'all have any questions or concerns, please let me know. But I think this is the route we just need to take.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.
All right, council, that brings us to council member reports. Either you two have reports today? No? All right, I don't either today, just busy. Don't think we have a closed session unless I've missed anything. I think we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Exciting. Yeah.